In this episode, we're going to check out the Legends Ultimate Arcade by AtGames.
I thought you said you weren't gonna get it!
This guy will never learn. Classic Kim is going to kill you. Alright, the good, the bad, and the ugly. No one said she was pretty, guys, so here it is. This is the AtGames Legends Ultimate Arcade system. It does have a lit marquee that looks pretty nice for the most part, so kind of cool. The control panel has a plethora of controls. You've got spinners, you've got joysticks and buttons, and a trackball, so a lot going on here. It is a little crammed, but not too bad. The side art is, well, kind of just okay, so if you're Tyler Goodman or Joe Sabo or Escape Pod, you know what to do. So here it is. You'll notice on the side there's some chrome T-molding. That looks really nice and gives it that authentic arcade look, which I do appreciate. There is stereo speakers on this thing, and for the wattage, they don't sound half bad, so not bad. And the bezel is, the bezel, and it surrounds the 24.5-inch screen. I removed the back panel so you guys can see what's going on back here. That is the video board, so all of the connections that go from the control panel go into this, and that's actually your LVDS connection that goes to the back of the monitor, and then everything else is plugged in at the time of installation. I did notice while poking around that this monitor is the brand name BOE. That's the same brand name that they're using on the Wave 3 Arcade 1-Up cabinet, so kind of interesting. The speakers are 4 ohm, 5 watts, and there's 2 of them. They sound pretty damn good for, smaller speakers that are kind of low wattage, so that's pretty neat. And then above that, you'll find this LED strip that's actually mounted toward the front of the cabinet, and that's actually to light up the lit marquee that comes with the system. Alright guys, here we are. We are logged on to the AtGames Legends Ultimate Arcade cabinet. So we're doing things a little bit different because I'm going to grab the footage right from the cabinet. So we're not having to record, a side of the screen and get all that glare and all that nonsense. So we're going to dive right in. This video is the good, the bad, and the ugly, so I'm going to give it all to you straight as far as I see it, as it sits right now. So let's dive right in. I'm going to kill the music. Alright, so first things first, when you log in, you're going to get the games folder. This is going to be the initial games list, the 350 games that were included. I'm going to leave a PDF that has links to all of the games that are on this list. Now, I was a tad bit underwhelmed with this list. There's some decent games, like Disney's Aladdin. There's some Asteroids and things like that. There's Centipede, Breakout. There are some arcade classics, but I was kind of hoping for more modern, arcade hits, and there really are not a lot of those. So a lot of this is comprised of 2600 console games and things like that. So you may like some of these games, and I'm not saying I don't like them, but I guess for an arcade cabinet, I was kind of hoping for less console games and more of those arcade classics. Now, there are several on here, and there's some really fun things you can do with the cabinet because it has 2 spinners. You can play games like Pong. I mean, very old school, so talk about nostalgia. I don't think I was even born when Pong came out, but I do remember playing Pong in various different forms, throughout my, youth. But anyways, so you can cycle through these, and I won't bore you with the whole games list, but this is the part of the cab that I'm the least excited about. Now, keep in mind, those are the 350 that are included, so you're not paying anything extra for those. That's just included on the cabinet when you get it. So we're going to go up to ArcadeNet, because that's pretty interesting. So ArcadeNet is the $20 service. Right now, as of the recording of this video, this is actually in beta, and you can see that on the left it says ArcadeNet free beta. So this is in beta for right now, and there's only 3 pages worth of games. However, there's some pretty good games on here. Shock Troopers is one I really like, Metal Slug 2, Metal Slug X, Akari Warriors. I will notice that sometimes the game art takes a little bit to load. So you can see there's some decent games on here. There's some King of Fighters and things like that, Fatal Fury. So some pretty decent games. But keep in mind, this is only 3 pages worth of games, so you figure there's, 6, 12, I don't know, it's maybe like 20-something games on here, so not that many. But I did talk to the guys at AtGames. They said this service is going to continue to get better. As of right now, it's free, and I think that makes sense because there's not a lot on it, so I wouldn't really pay $20 for something that I'm not getting a lot of. So when this is ready to be a purchasable service, you will get 5 free hours of what I'm about to show you next. So what I'm about to show you next is bring your own game. So you'll get 5 hours of streaming gaming from these services. Now, the only one that I actually have an active account on is Steam. I had mixed feelings about this because in the actual rollout of the firmware right now, as it exists, as of the recording of this video, it costs money to play games that you already have purchased. So if I have Steam games, so I'm going to go into Steam right now. If I have Steam games, it's going to cost me money to play my own Steam games. So it's going to cost you $1 an hour. And if you join ArcadeNet for $20, you get 5 free hours. Now that's how it works right now. I talked to the guys at AtGames and I was like, that doesn't really make much sense. You're going to make me pay money to stream the games that I have locally on a computer somewhere else. That's kind of weak. So they did say, and keep in mind, this is what they said. They have not done this yet, but they did say that they're going to have a way to do that locally so that you are not dinged the $1 per hour that you would be right now. So as it stands right now, if you stream anything on Steam, even local, it's going to cost you $1 an hour. So, you know, for what that's worth, that may deter a lot of people. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and wait a little bit, you know? So maybe if you're on the fence about buying it, I'm planning on doing subsequent videos to see how they're doing and progressing with the software. You might want to use me as your guinea pig. So anyways, this does take quite a bit of time to load. I'm not really sure why. That could be a Steam thing. I don't know. This does make a connection to D2D. D2D is actually a service that AtGames purchased, so I didn't really realize that. So D2D Instant is actually a service that AtGames purchased, so I didn't really realize that. So sometimes when this comes up, you get this screen that you see right now. I'm going to fix this really quick. I need to get my keyboard. I don't know why it will minimize itself. You can actually fix this with the trackball. Oh, wait, hold on. Never mind. It did it fine. Okay. So let's see. I did notice this works a lot better when you're using, you know, the trackball or a mouse. So there is something in their FAQ that says you should have a keyboard and mouse when you're using this. So I'm going to go grab that real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back and I have my keyboard. I totally suggest you buy one of these if you're planning on using this service. This is the RIIX8. So you can use this to navigate through the Steam app, and, you know, you can see all the games that you have on other computers within your network. So you can see you can play it from here, or you can stream it. This does have the ability to install the game locally to the AtGames system. I wouldn't advise you do that because there's no way to track how much hard drive space you have. I did inform them of this. This is something they're working on. I don't know whether you're ever going to be able to install Steam games locally, but it does give you the ability to do it, but I would proceed with caution on that. So basically what you do is you select the computer you want to stream from. This is actually the computer I'm on, so I don't know how well this is going to work, but I did actually test this. It works fairly well. There's some audio issues, but I'll show you how to fix those. There are audio issues where it plays the audio in the wrong place, but there's some settings you need to tweak in order to get that to work correctly, and I'll show you that here in a minute. So if I hit play, it's going to start up the game. You can use the controls that are actually on the AtGames, or you could plug in a joystick and use it that way, which is pretty cool.
Ultra Street Fighter 4!
Okay guys, I'm actually voicing over this section because it recorded the game audio so loud. It was just weird how I had it set up, but you can see in the right hand corner you'll see the latency and the frames per second. It pretty much maintains 60 frames per second while playing Street Fighter 4, which is pretty cool. And this is through the Steam service, as you already realized. But anyways, so I'm going to show a little bit of gameplay here, and then, you know, I'll go on to the next section.
Not bad.
All right, so I know we only streamed one game, but that gives you the idea of how this system works. So as of right now, like I told you, if you look, you'll see there's a timer in the upper left-hand corner. This is actually taking time away from that hourly rate that I have. So again, I get those 5 free hours. I'm taking time away from that right now. So they have told me again that that is going to change, and you are going to be able to do what I basically just did locally without, being charged for it. So before I exit this, I just wanted to show you one little thing that also is useful when you are trying to stream a game with this Steam service. So if you go here in the corner, it's a little hard for me to do the way I have this set up, but if you're in the corner and you go to settings, and then you go from here to, let's see, remote play. It's really hard to do without being in front of the cabinet, but let's see. I thought it'd be easier. All right, remote play, no. Remote play, okay. So in remote play, there's a thing called advanced host settings. Make sure that you check play sound on host on both sides, both your laptop or desktop you're streaming from and your client on the AtGames. I don't know why, but if you don't do that, you're only going to have sound on your host. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's the only way to get around that for that to be fixed. And it was interesting because at E3, they actually told me the sound wasn't working, and I half wonder if they actually just didn't know how to troubleshoot it. I don't really know. But anyways, so the streaming service is kind of one of those things that falls between the good and bad, because it's good that it's fun that I have access to this game. It's bad right now because, I have to pay an hourly rate. Again, giving them the benefit of the doubt. They say it's going to be fixed in a firmware update. Let's hope they actually do that. So that stream locally is supposed to be resolved. Anyway, that's essentially how that service works. We're going to go out of here for a second because I want to talk about a couple more things. So let's go back and quit out of this. So when you go back to the main menu, you will see in the left-hand corner, it does remind you of how much time you have left for streaming. And if you go to purchase time, it allows you to buy additional time. So you can buy this in 10-hour chunks, so $10 is the minimum. So if you buy more of this, if you use it all up. Now keep in mind, I will say, again, they are telling me that they are going to make it so that we can stream our Steam games locally without having to be charged this hourly rate. Now, what I did notice is I disconnected the system from a network connection to see if I could put the system on a private network and access my games without having that ticker charge me. It looks like it goes and looks for that D2D server. If it doesn't find it, it doesn't open the Steam app. So it is using that D2D server as like a tertiary site to play your game. So because of that, it's a no-go on that, but it looks like they're going to fix it. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but as it is right now, I'm going to fall into the bad category. So there are other applications on the system that you can use to stream games. I don't really use any of the other services, so they're less important to me. My son happens to play Fortnite, but I don't know why you'd want to play Fortnite on an arcade cabinet. Now, you can hook up a controller to it, so maybe that's a reason to do it if you had this like in a room and wanted to multi-purpose use for it. The other thing I thought of, if this cabinet is in a room, it does have other HDMI ports. You could use those to, put a Fire Stick on it and use it as a TV if you had it in a room, but I don't know. That's not really, to me, one of the more appealing qualities of it. So as it stands right now, ArcadeNet is free for now in beta. Again, you get these 3 pages worth of games, and once it is available, when you pay the $19.99 a month, you are going to get 5 hours of the Bring Your Own Game service. Outside of that, there's some basic settings. It does have a Wi-Fi connection, so you can connect it to Wi-Fi or you can connect it to Ethernet. There's actually an Ethernet port on the back. This is where it just shows some versioning information. Just shows you, oh shoot, looks like there's a new update. So I guess you're going to see what it looks like to update the firmware. I didn't realize there's a firmware update available. All right, let's go through and upgrade it. Literally, I didn't even know this is available, so we'll see if anything changed. They did tell me they were going to update a couple things, so let's see. Hopefully it doesn't brick the unit. Well, it looks like it just rebooted, so let's hope it comes back up. There it is. So that's what it looks like when it boots. It says Legends Ultimate. I don't know if anything's going to... That's really weird that this happened to happen while the video is going on. I guess you can now see the upgradability of the system for more updating. Okay, well, we'll let that go, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the other things that I have concerns about it. So if we want to talk about the good, they had talked about potentially being able to add your own ROMs, so bring your own ROM. I know it's kind of a gray area, but they are potentially thinking about doing that. They did talk to me about that, and they said that is something that they're going to offer at some point. So again, that's one of those things. I think that this would make it more appealing to some to be able to play whatever games they want. But as of right now, you can play the games that are on there and then stream games. There's no way to add games outside of accessing through a streaming service or the games that are on there or the games they offer through ArcadeNet. So it looks like it's going to reboot. I'm going to say reboot automatically. So that's kind of cool. I didn't actually plan on showing you guys what a code update looks like, but it's pretty straightforward. So I do like that it is a connected arcade. That is a plus to me. But like I said, in its current form, I think there's all these things that they want to do with it, which make it a more appealing system. It's just we're not quite there yet. So that may deter you from purchasing it right now because you kind of have to evaluate it for what it is right now, not what it might be. So anyways, all right, before we jump over to gameplay, I did want to go check out the website with you guys. The reason why is that people don't read anymore, and there's actually quite a bit of information on the website that's valuable. The first thing that I would advise you go take a look at is the included games list. So there's 350 games on the system. So the reason why I bring this up is that if these 350 do not interest you, and you have no desire to pay monthly fees for additional games and services, then that's going to weigh heavily on your decision whether or not this is a system that you would want to purchase. So just go check these out, see if these are games that you'd like. Now keep in mind, my personal opinion is there's way too many console games for a system that's called an arcade. So, you know, console games don't translate to arcade in my opinion, but that's going to be up to you. The games list itself is pretty instrumental to whether or not I want to buy a system or not for me personally. Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention is there's a support FAQ. It does answer a lot of questions that I actually went over today, but just want to let you know that that's there. And there's actually a video to help you assemble it. But again, this is really easy. It's actually a lot easier to assemble than an arcade 1-up. If you go to the features list, it gives you a little bit more information about, you know, the system, what's included and things like that. It tells you a little bit about the online services and stuff like that as well. Now, there is an open API and development kit for this for third-party developers. I have no idea whether they'll adopt it or not, but that would be kind of interesting if you start having third-party developers write applications for this thing. That is the beauty of it being a connected system. Now, whether or not people do that is, you know, that's to be determined in the future. We don't have any way to predict that. Okay, I'm going to run over to the cabinet real quick. We'll do a little bit of gameplay, and I'll give you my final thoughts, and we'll wrap up. All right, the first game I'm going to show you is Metal Slug. So this is available via ArcadeNet. All right, you can see that the game is actually presented in the proper aspect ratio, which is much welcomed from my respect. I wouldn't want to stretch this game out. It looks really good at the standard aspect ratio. But you can see it plays pretty well. The controls feel nice. And so, you know, anyone's going to love some Metal Slug. But keep in mind, ArcadeNet is right now a free service, but will be a paid-for service eventually. So this game probably won't be free forever. All right, let me go back to the main menu. You're going to hit the menu button, and then on top, you just hit quit. So I did play multiple ArcadeNet games, and they play really well. Let's go over to bring your own game, and I'll show you how Steam works. Okay, so Steam is all loaded up. I'm gonna do some, I think, Fight and Rage. That sounds like a good game to do. Again, I'm gonna stream it from my desktop. I'm gonna hit stream. Now keep in mind, if I go back to that menu, you will see it is ticking down on my time that I have left. So looks like it detected one of my controllers, but I don't want to use that right now, which is really cool. But anyways, yep, it's costing me money right now, so I better hurry up and play. So keep that in mind. If you're sitting on this screen and you can't decide what you want, as soon as you're on the Steam app, you are being charged money. Now, I don't know if that's going to change or if they have any control over changing that in the future, but that is something to be aware of. So let's click on Fight and Rage and start this thing up. So if at any time during the setup your joystick becomes unresponsive, just move it around and you'll see it'll go back to joystick mode. So notice I just hit the mouse and it says mouse mode. If that happens, you won't be able to do anything. So just move the joystick around and it'll say game mode and get you back to where you need to be. So that can sometimes be one of those weird things that if you're not paying attention to it, it could happen to you and it'll seem like the system's not responding. But anyways, right now, if you look in the top right corner, it says 60 frames per second. So I'm operating at a frame rate that looks pretty good for a system like this, especially because I'm streaming this game. So So I find it pretty cool to be able to play, you know, modern games like this, you know, modern retro throwback types of games. You'll notice the latency's pretty good. Sometimes you'll see some slowdown here and there. Now I have it connected over Wi-Fi in my house, and I am a little further away from the router than I would like, but you know, seems to work pretty well for the most part. So anyways, that's Steam, and if you want to exit Steam, you can hit the menu button, scroll over to the right, and hit quit. And it'll bring you back to the Steam main menu. So I've tested a couple different games. This game is not on their compatibility list. There is a compatibility list. I'll put links in the description of that. And then it brings you right back. So guys, that's kind of all I wanted to show for at least this video. I did mod this thing. So in actuality, I have the ability to run a Pi on this, and I'm gonna do a longer video on that, but that's not what I wanted to show today. So if I plug the Pi in, I actually have it on one of these HDMI connections. I'm able to run a Pi at the same time. So kind of cool. There's some caveats to this though, but I have, I'm still working on this, but it's kind of neat. I can use the actual arcade controls and be able to play games from a Pi build as well. All right guys, I'm gonna play out to some turtles. So if you like this video, please like it. Please consider subscribing. It really does help us out. We do lots of fun stuff with retro games and arcade gaming and at-home arcades and mods and all sorts of fun stuff. So definitely check the channel out, turn on notifications so you can be informed of future updates. And as always, guys, thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.